Good morning. And it is a very good morning, isn't it? Yes, indeed. You may be seated. My name is Tanya Lynn Bennett, and I serve here as the University Chaplain and Associate Dean in the Theological School. Let us take a moment and focus ourselves, joining our hearts together. We come together here on the brink of this new beginning, standing teetering on the edge of great possibility and promise. We come with all that we are and all that we've been made to be, shaped by a spirit of great imagination and love, by teachers and co-learners and mentors in this forest, each of us a critical piece of the universe puzzle. Come, Spirit of wisdom, come. Be with us here. Cast aside any shutters of doubt or worry that cloud our vision as we step out into this new space. Swing wide the portals to the expanses of our hearts and mind. Remind us that we are loved well by you and by those around us. Inspire us to look in and out at where we've been and where we might go. Let us know that we do not ever travel alone, but always with you and in the hearts of those we've known before and will come to know in days ahead. The world needs us, our wisdom, our compassion, our desire for justice, our joy for life. Let us not be afraid, but go forward in courage, bold to step out, bold to speak out for the world's good. We come together here on the brink of this new beginning, the edge of great possibility and promise, and we give thanks as we claim the call that we are the people for just such a time as this. May it be so.
Welcome, and thank you for attending today's ceremony. First, I'm Thomas Schwartz. I'm the president of Drew University, and it's my honor to be here. I want to recognize the graduating students. Would you please stand? And would the families and guests of the graduates please stand and be recognized as well, because we know that without your support, the graduates would not be here today. And would the faculty and staff who guided these students please stand and be recognized. Thank you. I'd like to congratulate and applaud all of you for your perseverance, your ability to adapt to challenges, and to overcome adversity. Those experiences will stand you in good stead, whatever life's challenges may be. As they used to say at the post office, neither rain nor heat nor gloom of night nor COVID has stayed the completion of your degree, albeit perhaps made it difficult and in some cases delayed. I am not sure the post office can still use that informal motto, but you can adopt it, so congratulations. Today you will hear from two distinguished speakers, a scientist and a legal scholar involved in significant medical and legal needs of our nation. But I want to point out to you what we all take for granted when listening to them, and that is their freedom to say what they believe, to express their views without fear of retribution. As we know from the leaked opinion from the Supreme Court, we cannot assume that the rights we have taken for granted are sacred. And as we have seen from the attacks on journalists In this country and elsewhere, our rights under the First Amendment are also at risk. Autocrats fear freedom of speech. Compare the protests in this country that ended the Vietnam War with the silencing and jailing of journalists and citizens in Russia today. Literally, war and peace depend upon citizens being able to speak for and against. So while we may not all agree on the important issues that appear to be threatening our democracy and our unity as a nation, we have the obligation to remain vigilant about and to work to protect the press from attacks and our right to speak. Do not assume that there are not forces out there that want an autocracy with all that follows. You are graduating at what is obviously a difficult time in the United States and in the world. Perhaps you cannot directly influence the issues of polarization in national politics or, of course, war and peace. But you can indirectly influence those issues. Use your education to lead others to find common ground, to find good in those with whom you disagree, and of course, to be active citizens, whether here or abroad, to get involved and not simply to observe or follow. As is said at Drew, add to the world's good by responding to the urgent challenges of our time with rigorous, independent, and imaginative thought. Let us now pause and remember a good friend of you, your fellow classmate of 2022, Ajay Shah. As we confer degrees later in the ceremony, we will posthumously award a bachelor's degree to Ajay. While he may no longer be with us physically, Ajay will be forever a part of our lives and community. His diploma is awarded posthumously, and his brother Shiva will be accepting it on his behalf and on behalf of his family. It is now a privilege for me to present our 2022 honorary degrees and commencement speakers. I welcome Carlos Jordan, Associate Professor of Political Science and International Relations, to share a few words about our first recipient.
Good morning. Dr. Kimani Paul Emile is one of the nation's preeminent scholars in the intersecting areas of law and biomedical ethics, health law, anti-discrimination law, and race and the law. Early in her career, she served as Associate Counsel at the Brennan Center for Justice at NYU School of Law and practiced civil rights law at the Center for Constitutional Rights. She currently serves Fordham Law School as a professor of law, Associate Director and Head of Domestic Programs and Initiatives at Fordham Law School Center on Race, Law and Justice, and faculty co-director of the Fordham Law School Stein Center for Law and Ethics. Dr. Paul Emile's scholarly writing regularly appears in the nation's most prestigious law and medical journals, and she can often be seen and heard in the media, including the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, National Public Radio, and CBS News. She co-authored an article on dealing with racist patients in the hospital, setting that as one of the most highly viewed pieces of all medical journals. Dr. Paul Emile shares her research knowledge and experience with students in topics of health law, law and biomedical ethics, anti-discrimination law, race and the law, legislation and regulation, drug regulation, and law and society. She received her undergraduate degree from Brown University, her Juris Doctor from Georgetown, and her PhD from NYU. In addition to her work at Fordham, she was selected to serve as a Law and Public Affairs Fellow at Princeton University for the 2020-21 academic year. Thank you.
Dr. Kimani Paul Emile, by authority of the Board of Trustees of Drew University, I confer upon you the Doctor of Humane Letters honoris causa.
Good morning. Oh, come on. This is your graduation day. Good morning. All right, that's more like it. So I want to thank President Schwartz and the Board of Trustees for this honor. And it's also an incredible honor to address all of you, the graduates, the faculty, members of the administration, parents, and honored guests on this momentous day. Now, graduation speeches tend to say all the traditional things about this day, but they're actually all true, every overblown cliche of it. No matter where you go, no matter what you do, this day will remain with you forever. But today, we find ourselves in uncertain times. Social, economic, and environmental issues cloud the horizon. Bankrupt ideas threaten the viability of our future. And the US is increasingly becoming polarized and intolerant of immigrants, outsiders, and those who are considered different. You only need turn on the television or glance at the headlines in recent years to see crowds of people throughout the country marching in the streets, fighting for the soul of America. Once you leave the confines of Drew University, you too will have to navigate this troubled world and a daunting global situation that will demand from you more than has ever been asked. Armed with your Drew degrees, you will be well positioned to play a crucial role in this nation's social, political, and economic struggles. With the education that you have received from Drew University, you can and should influence the debates, determine what type of America this should become. It's now up to you to decide what you want to do with your education. It's up to you to decide how the knowledge that you have gained will manifest. Will you manifest your education in ways that encompass the interests and the hopes and the dreams of others? Will you manifest it in goals larger than yourselves? Will you manifest it in ways that reshape our society and the world for the better? Now, your college experience has not been a typical one, for sure. In fact, it's been almost unprecedented, disrupted by a global pandemic. And some of you, while thinking about your future, may look back with some regret about what could have been. I recently read an article that changed my perspective on regret. The article was about Mariko Ugeda, a 63-year-old woman in Japan who had been a phenomenal runner in her youth, but gave it up to get married, start a family, pursue a career. But during those years, she often thought about what could have been So later in life, she started running again. And in 2001, at the age of 62, she became the fastest woman in her age group to ever win a marathon, running it in under 3 hours, thereby setting a world record. And she says that her achievement was fueled by her regret. So what does this mean for you? There's so much that you couldn't do during lockdown, and you may regret the opportunities that were lost. But now the question is, what will you do now that you have the chance? Will you ignore the regret, deny it, wallow in it, or like Ugeda, will you use it as inspiration? Studies find that we tend to regret what we did not do far more than regret what we actually did. So again, what will you do now that you have the opportunity? Will you spend your energy focusing on what was or could have been, or will you channel it into what is yet to come? And in the process, will you appreciate and find meaning in who you are now because of this experience? Maybe stronger, more resilient, perhaps more compassionate? All of this will shape your path, the same individual paths that each of you followed to arrive here this morning. So as Drew University prepares yet another generation to step forward, follow its path, and make its contribution, let's remember that it's in the profound wisdom distilled from all that you have learned that your power lies. And it's the actions that you will take based on that distillation of knowledge that has the longest lasting effect in shaping your individual character and informing strong, enduring, and resilient societies. So today, go forth bravely, ready to act on what you know and to follow your paths propelled by the responsibility, the privilege, and the power of your Drew education. Congratulations, class of 2022.
Thank you. I now welcome Professor Brianne Barker, Associate Professor of Biology, to share a few words about our second honorary degree recipient and speaker. Brianne?
Hi. Dr. Luis Hodar is a neuroimmunologist and expert in vaccine research and development and international health. Early in his career, he led global vaccine research for the World Health Organization. He subsequently served as Deputy Director General of the International Vaccine Institute in Seoul, Korea, an organization established by the United Nations, and shared his knowledge as a faculty member at Seoul National University, Faculty of Medicine, School of Public Health. In his current role as Chief Medical Officer for Vaccines Medical Development and Medical Scientific Affairs at Pfizer, he and his international team have quite simply changed the world during these recent years of the global pandemic. His work on COVID, pneumococcal, and other vaccines will improve lives for years to come. He is equally at home in the classroom, regularly teaching at the Institut Pasteur and ADVAC, and his long and successful track record in building public-private partnerships has accelerated the development and introduction of critically needed vaccines in numerous developing nations. He has been awarded several honors, including the Cross of Officer of the Order of Civil Merit from the King of Spain for his work. Dr. Hodar received his PhD in clinical pharmacology and international health and his PharmD in pharmaceutical and biological sciences from the Universidad Complutense de Madrid and completed doctoral and postdoctoral training in neuroimmunology at Nagasaki and Osaka universities.
Dr. Louis Hodar, by authority of the Board of Trustees of Drew University, I confer upon you the degree Doctor of Sciences, honoris causa. Congratulations.
Hello, good morning, everybody. It is going to be certainly very difficult to follow the excellent speech of Professor Kimani, but I will try. So, President Schwartz, Provost Lakin, Professor Barker, distinguished colleagues, and obviously, class of 2022. It is a real honor to be here today in front of you to celebrate your graduation as the culmination of several years of work, sacrifices, discovery, and above all, preparation for the start of your professional lives. Lives like all of ours, have been shattered by a pandemic that, although predicted for many decades, has taken the world by surprise and unprepared. The COVID-19 pandemic, while still causing havoc and uncertainty, should also serve as a source of inspiration for all of you. And this is because it has brought to light new ways of working, interacting with each other, and importantly, collaborating not only to beat the virus, but make a better and more equitable world. And you are the first generation to bring all these changes to fruition, and this is your time to seize the initiative. The world has been turned upside down, and no one can tell you anymore how things should be done, with whom you need to work, or for how long you should do it. Probably not since the age of the big explorations, where Christopher Columbus' travels to America and Vasco da Gama's sea route to India changed how people view the Earth. There has been a time when the change had been so profound. And you may say now, well, that's all well and good, but how do I start changing the world? A few of you may have some hints or may have some deep-rooted vocations. If so, please pursue them in earnest without any fear of failure, because remember that success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm, as Churchill once famously said. However, if you have no idea of what to do next, welcome to the club. When I finished my PhD in Madrid in my 20s, I was as disoriented as perhaps many of you feel right now. At the time, I only knew two things. Firstly, that I wanted to see the world and get out from a country that in the early 90s was still a bit parochial. And secondly, that I wanted to blend what I learned in life sciences for the last 7 years with humanities, which was always my deep and hidden passion. So I decided then to go to the furthest place at the time, Japan, to get a scholarship from the Japanese Ministry of Culture. There I tried to combine both aspirations by learning the Japanese language, working in a lab, doing experiments in neuroscience, and writing a novel about the first Spanish and Portuguese Jesuits led by Francisco Javier that landed in Japan in the 16th century. Fast forward 30 years, and now I barely remember my Japanese. I never really pursued a career in the lab, and for that matter in neurosciences, and never finished the novel. So by now you might be thinking, well, so much for combining science and humanities. What a fiasco. And while this is rightfully true, it is only part of the truth. Because it was in Japan where I got inspired to become a vaccinologist, a career in public health that I have been pursuing for the last 25 years. The source of my inspiration was also a keynote lecture, this time given by late Professor D.A. Henderson, who was one of the greatest American public health luminaries of the past century. Professor Henderson, and listen to this very, very carefully, directed for 10 years the global efforts to eradicate smallpox, which is the only disease that has actually been eradicated, and was one of the fathers of the expanded program on immunization, which became the cornerstone of the childhood immunization programs around the world, and admittedly, one of the greatest public health achievements in the history of humanity, saving millions of infants' lives every year around the world. And there are perhaps 3 lessons from this experience. One, that inspiration cannot be programmed, but often comes unexpectedly. Second, that inspiration exists, but it must find you working. And third, that once inspiration comes, you will definitely know. Many of you may now be asking yourselves, how do vaccines finally combine science and humanities? And if not, you should have, because one of the biggest learnings from university is to question the establishment, is to test assertions, find the evidence supporting the statements. As Susan Massey told Ronald Reagan once, Mr. President, trust but verify. And yes, my dear friends, vaccinology encompasses so many disciplines, ranging from immunology, microbiology, or epidemiology to economics, behavioral sciences, or anthropology. Allow me to give you one example of this when I was working at the WHO, at the World Health Organization in the early 90s. In those years, as Professor Barker has said, I was responsible for research and development of meningococcal vaccines, focusing primarily in controlling epidemics occurring in the meningitis belt in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, think about this. The meningitis belt, if you know the map of Africa, the meningitis belt includes around 20 countries, expanding in the west from Senegal to Ethiopia in the east. And large epidemics typically occurred during the dry season between November and March, coinciding with the appearance of a wind called the harmattan that picks up fine dust and sand particles all over the Sahara. These epidemics occurred in an explosive way, affecting primarily children and young adults, which in a matter of 24 hours after being infected could go from mild symptoms like fatigue or fever to coma and death in around 10% of the cases. So imagine the panic-generating sensation for many people that are being affected by these epidemics. In those years, only polysaccharide vaccines made of sugar, were available, and those were not enough to interrupt transmission to control these epidemics. A new vaccine that just get this sugar and put it together with a protein need to be developed. Industry was developing vaccines against 4 serogroups, but the serogroup that was prevailing in sub-Saharan Africa was a single serogroup, was serogroup A. It was therefore imperative to develop a monovalent vaccine targeting that serogroup, but also at very, very low prices, at cents rather than dollars a dose. Remember that we are focusing on the poorest countries in the world at a time where international financing was relatively scarce. It was at that moment where Bill Gates entered the project, because it was the Bill Gates Foundation who gave WHO and about $70 million to develop a serogroup meningococcal vaccine for the poorest countries in the world. And in another parallelism to Bill Gates' career, a group of us gathered in a rented space rather than in a garage near Geneva to conceive one of the most interesting and successful public-private partnerships in the history of humankind. A limited number of geniuses, many of them already retired, with expertise in chemistry, production, economics, epidemiology, designed projects that involved the technology transfer of these sugars, the conjugation technology and manufacture, to a very distant manufacturer in India, the Serum Institute of India. My dearest friend, Dr. Suresh Jadhav, executive director of the Serum Institute in India in those years and a supporter of this project, left us a few months ago victim of a very aggressive cancer. But before leaving us, he enjoyed how what started as a wild dream ended up a decade later with the introduction of this vaccine in the meningitis belt countries. And as we speak, 350 million doses have already been given to the populations at risk in sub-Saharan Africa, almost eliminating these epidemics. Thank you. Well, I do not know if you know Pablo Picasso. That's one of the most famous Spanish painters. He said once, there are painters who transform the sun to a yellow spot, but there are others who, with the help of their art and intelligence, transform a yellow spot into the sun. Suresh, Mark Laforce, Dan Granov, Constante Ceccarini, and so many others involved in this project are a vivid example of a dream becoming true, of a yellow spot becoming a sun. Now, it is your time to paint your own canvas with your life experiences and draw from the lessons of this meningitis vaccine project, which are the following. Firstly, an idea, no matter how good it might be, will always be better when shared with others. Secondly, and I think this is very important, you may advance much faster by yourself, but long distances can only be achieved in company. And thirdly, the end result might be different from what you have originally thought, but it will surely persist over time if others accept your idea as their own. Let me just give you the last example of the COVID-19, since that's what I'm dealing with it right now. Messenger RNA, as you know, that's the Pfizer-BioNTech COVID-19 vaccine, was discovered in the early 60s. And research into mRNA that could be delivered into cells was developed in the 70s. However, and that's important, imagine you started almost 50 years ago researching on mRNA, and it was not until the end of 2020, in the middle of the COVID-19 pandemic, when the first mRNA vaccine were approved and successfully used in millions of humans. The biggest challenge was that the mRNA, when integrated into the cells, degraded very quickly. It took many years and scores of scientists to be able to find a solution. This came from advances in nanotechnology and the development of these fatty droplets where you meet the mRNA, which allowed the entry in cells. And once inside the cells, the mRNA message could be translated into the proteins, which stimulate your immune system, and that's how the vaccine works. What came later is part of one of the most beautiful chapters in human history. From our side, the vision of BioNTech scientists, Turkish immigrants in Germany, Ugur Sahim and Özlem Türeci, coupled with the courage, audacity, persistence, and leadership from Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla, made an incredibly far-fetched dream into one of the biggest achievements in public health. Success was the result of massive collaborative exercise problem-solving that allowed Pfizer to pack the scientific knowledge of decades within 9 months, affecting the lives of millions of people around the world. The battle against the virus is not over, but now at least we know that no matter how rapidly it mutates and evolves, we have the right technology to strike back on a timely fashion. More than ever, it is now your turn to shape the world and make it a better place for your and future generations. There are plenty of challenges ahead, from other public health threats to climate change, from fighting against cancer or overcoming aging. This challenge will require the enthusiasm, perseverance, and courage of graduates from Drew like you. I should like to end up with the words of one of my favorite Spanish poets, Antonio Machado, who said, "Caminante no hay camino, se hace camino al andar," which can be literally translated as, "Traveler, there is no path, you make your own path by walking." The time to walk is now. Go on, my friends, and find your own path. Thank you all, and congratulations, class of 22.
I may need a new vaccine. Thank you. I am now very pleased to welcome our student speaker for today's commencement, Fernando Cardoza Ochoa.
Dear class of 2022, congratulations. Felicidades. As I thought about what to write for my speech, I thought long and hard about what makes the class of 2022 so special. I thought about the people I have met, the professors I've had, the mentors with whom I've worked, and many more aspects. Now I realize, as I stand before you, that among the many things that make our class special, one in particular stands out. That is our ability to engage and celebrate difference. When I came to Drew University for Admitted Students Day in 2018, I was approached by smiling faces, hugs, words of encouragement, and new people. As the student panel began in Crawford Hall, I sat 3 rows away from the panel. As everyone entered, I noticed that all the rows were filling up, except mine. The panel started, and I realized no one was sitting with me in that row. I remember wondering why that was, but I could not come up with a reason. I remember wondering where else I could sit, but all the other seats were taken. I remember looking around, but with no luck, almost everyone did not look like me. It was a new feeling that I have never felt before. That is when I recognized that I was different. I spoke a different language, so different that I had an entire row to myself. As the panel got underway, however, someone came in and looked for a seat. They chose to sit in that empty row. They were also different from me, what I looked like, but they were friendly. For as much as we were different in terms of hair, height, skin tone, and our clothing, we were still similar. Once I went back home, I had to make a decision. Would I commit to Drew University and its community, or choose other institutions that I was considering? My mother told me, escoge la universidad que te haga sentir cómodo y seguro. Choose the university where you feel most comfortable and safe. And remembering my experience during the Crawford Hall panel, I also remember that at the dojo, I made friends, many of whom were different from me. At the library, I made friends, many of whom were different from me. And at the Commons, I also made friends, many of whom were different from me. As I stand in front of you, I ask you to please look at your neighbor for a second and make eye contact. In them, and despite a possible mask, you will see a smiling face. In them, you will see eyes. They may look different from yours, but they share the same capacity to shine as bright as yours. You will see eyes that have stayed up for long hours starting for an exam, finishing a lab report, working on a photography paper, or a term paper. In them, you can see yourself. Even though they might look different, or have a different major, or have a different life experience, they have also worked endless hours that have led to this moment. And we have supported each other, learned from each other, and become better communicators and citizens because we have openly embraced our differences. We are here today to celebrate your accomplishments and your differences. As recent graduates, it is our duty to make change. It is our duty to encourage others. It is our duty to continue chasing our dreams. And it is your duty to be yourself. There are people who today celebrate you for that and more. Don't forget, today and always, once you step beyond this university, you are uniquely you. You're capable, you're smart, you're beautiful, and you're a Drew alum. You're different. When you look back, you should reflect on the moments you enjoyed, the experiences you had, the food you enjoyed, the laughs you still remember, and the professors who made a change in your life. I am forever indebted to the Spanish department, the neuroscience department, cultural clubs like Ariel, and all of my friends for allowing me to always recognize and celebrate my own differences, while always valuing and respecting the differences in others. As I end my speech, I would like to tell you to not just make a difference, be the difference. Engage the difference. Celebrate the difference. Go out in this world and take care of it. Do what you do best, because that is what is going to help others. Don't be like anyone else, because there is only one you sitting here, waiting for that moment when they call your name. Thank you, and congratulations to all of you.
Thank you. That was very beautiful. It is now my distinct pleasure to announce the President's Award for Distinguished Teaching in the College of Liberal Arts. One student wrote that without this faculty member, I am not necessarily confident that I would have completed my college education given my own personal hardships and the COVID-19 pandemic. This faculty member inspired me to learn and to keep moving forward, even when the world felt painfully still. He continued to extend a helping hand whenever I needed it, promptly provided any resources he could, and pivoted his classes toward online formatting in a way that should be the blueprint for us all. Another student nomination noted that this faculty member goes above and beyond, not only for his students, but for his community. One of my favorite classes at Drew was his New York semester course. He gave me so much insight into my intended field. They went on to say that this professor helped with the planning and preparation for a weekend film boot camp. This helped connect college students with members of Orange High School. This is a professor that I believe should be recognized for his work. This faculty member was also awarded a Mellon Periclean Faculty Leadership Fellowship in support of developing this community-based learning course. In addition to being a phenomenal professor, in quotes, this individual is an active scholar. He has recently published several articles, including psychologizing, I guess, spectatorship between laboratory and theater, screening the psychological laboratory, Hugo Munsterberg, psychotechnics, and the cinema. It is my pleasure to announce this year's recipient and invite him to the podium to receive the President's Award for Distinguished Teaching, Dr. Jeremy Blatter, Assistant. I guess you know him.
Thank you very much. This is a great honor, very unexpected, so I at a loss for words. But thank you all of the students who inspired me to do what I do and to continue doing it. So thank you again. This is a great honor.
Good morning. Oh, come on, do I have to do it too? Good morning. Thank you. This is the fun part. I'm Jessica Lakin. I'm the University Provost and the Vice President for Academic Affairs, and I am extremely pleased to begin the conferral of degrees and the awarding of diplomas. Before we do that, I'd like to acknowledge the special honors and recognitions that have previously been awarded to our graduates based on their academic accomplishments. Their names and the details of these awards are listed in the printed programs, which are available by request. Graduates, please remain seated until you are invited to rise and come to the platform. And once you've received your diploma, you will return to your seats. Guests, we appreciate you celebrating respectfully to ensure that each graduate can be seen crossing the stage by their families and friends and that everyone will be able to hear their names. I now call upon the Dean of the College, Ryan Hendricks, to present the candidates.
Good morning. See, very good. I'm Ryan Hinrichs, Dean of the College of Liberal Arts. Before I present the candidates, I would like to take this opportunity to acknowledge 3 distinct groups of scholars graduating today. As I introduce each group of scholars, I ask that all members of that group rise while I briefly explain why they are being honored. Would our Baldwin Honors candidates please rise and remain standing? This demanding 4-year program admits academically strong students, emphasizing scholarship, leadership, and global citizenship. Students must maintain a 3.5 GPA and complete a full-year senior thesis experience. Congratulations. You may be seated. Would our civic scholars please rise? Drew University actively supports students who show extraordinary commitment to community service by offering civic engagement scholarships. Drew Civic Scholars complete 100 hours or more of service annually, participate in special community-based learning courses, workshops, and off-campus service projects. Congratulations. Would all graduating seniors who have been elected to membership in Phi Beta Kappa please stand? Phi Beta Kappa is our nation's oldest academic honors society. Students inducted for membership must have GPAs in the top 10% of their class, must have taken sufficient breadth of courses, study a foreign language through the intermediate level, and be able to demonstrate an appropriate level of mathematics. Congratulations. All right, now for the real test. Do we have any students who received all 3 of those recognitions? If so, please stand. Congratulations and thank you. And now, will all candidates for the Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science degrees please rise? President Schwartz, I have the high honor of presenting to you candidates for the degree Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science. After completion of their rigorous course of study, the faculty of the College of Liberal Arts recommends them for this degree.
You ready? Upon recommendation of the faculty and by authority of the Board of Trustees of Drew University, I confer upon you the degrees of Bachelor of Arts and Bachelor of Science. I invite each of you to the platform to receive your diploma. Please be seated until your row is directed by the marshals to rise and proceed to the platform.
Ajay Sa. Fernando Alcides Cardoza Ochoa. Shady Rafa Barsoon. Stephanie Wang. Evan William Fairweather. Krishna S. Patel. Michael Vincent Petrozello. Yan Yan Huang. Beijing Zhang. Ana Maria Roa Fuentes. Maggie Lane Etchison. Julian Alexander Zingler. Marwa Elasawi. Amna Akira. Michaela M. Rico. Beza Yilmaz. Nina Ray Esposito Ferron. Dalva Anita Schwartz. Graham Neil Monroe Lutters. Caroline Tramontana. Justin Roscom. Kayla Higgins Debevois. Honglin Yu. Yi Ju. Caillou Hummel Ho. Matios Ishizuka de Silva. Julia Segula Pietro. Tessa Ray Bagby. Aaron M. Grotos Gimbel. Andrew Joseph Seco. Ryan Joseph. Holly Marie Stefanik. Babes Malongo. Ian Carlo Quintana. Jose Paolo Neri Noble. Marco Amar Nadalo. Nicholas Peter Nunziato. Ryan Michael Kim Tumulty. Peter James Hoffman. Nicholas DeFamia. Anthony Joseph Tafaro. Paul Anthony Lapara. Jack Joseph Tynan. Connor John Deneen. Hannah Catherine Paskowski. Jacqueline Grace Wilburton. Amelia Joy Graham. Julissa Marie Montero. Spencer Liam Harrington. Mark Aoy Teleska. Brian Yen. Mohammed Salim Alkarin. Dongwoo Lee. Sonyan Na. Skylar Elizabeth Colarusso. Julia Margaret Sinatra. Paxton Christine Perry. Brett Walsh Phillip. Joshua Lodge Roberts. Benjamin Joshua Garrett. Cora Ann Street. Abigail Brooke Shapiro. Abigail Christine Poor. Cara Ruth Proud. Christopher Ellis Infinito. Jacob Kurtzfreilich. Alexandre Ferraz dos Santos Sanibel. Sydney Angela Everhart. Alyssa Marie Saleo. Helen Rosaline Navas Carrera. Gabrielle Louise Lugbauer. Juliana Prada Carrera. Denise Batista. Sophie Ann Almeida. Francesco Thomas Ferrito. Sean Tyler Sousa. Natalie Claire Stillo. Miles Lewis. Tingwei Chang. Saxorn Chunping. Shane Richard Benson. Justin Scott Mellick. Erin Elizabeth Fitzgerald. Gabriella Marie Christensen. Brooke Mary Timinski. Edo Karen. Sophia Capuchin George. Brianna Kirsten Gould. Candice Renee Fultony. Madison Jacina Lattell. Marissa Lee Barrios. Aubrey Marie Johnson. Kavita Gordon. Anna Lynn Smith. Michael John Mastro Giovanni. Genesis Perez. Shauna Angeli Singh. Alexandria Rose Grasso. Melina Campos. Melanie Haber. Casey Ryan Raleigh. Elizabeth Maria Mignano. Delaney Christine Redford. Dana Victoria Kitt. Olivia Wallace Thompson. Sierra Joy Williams. Samantha Riley Harvey. Morgan Zielinski. Hannah Erin Primiano. Ria DeVaker. Dorothy Louise Helmkin. Faraday Masachi. Muriel Connor Mason. Abigail Aaron Pedroso. Frozan Shonori. Samaya Amira Bryant. JC Holguin. Liliana Quispe. Justine Renee Drake. Melissa M. Hedden. Garrison Jens Keck. Kayla Lynn McClowski. Mary E. Lout. Carly Madison Schiller. Evelise Lorenzo. Lucaida Fayas Gosueda. Olivia Isabel Mango. Angelina Lobafaro. Emily Margaret Riley. Rebecca Lynn Sharman. Sam Bellman. Amarachi Jennifer Wachuku. Crystal Gabrielle Palmer. Ama Owusua Asante. Golder A. Ator. Carol Nana Abena Ode Alarpong. Isabella Maria Trinidad. Taquasia Miles. Diamond Aviance Crawford James. Amaya Tony Jesse Young. David Garcia. Starling Adonis Noboa Salobo. Sakaya Jacqueline Campbell. Kevin Andrade Pacheco. Daniel Alexander Vieira. Dagmawe Balahagar Alayu. Sophia Garabo. Sanghoon Lee. Halbin Tan. William Harry Badrigan. Robert Paul Marsh. Matthew David Skinner. Ariana Helwig. Emily Alphonse. Morgan Elizabeth Alley. Brianna Nicole Santiago. Autumn Marie Scarcella. Christina Yasmin Kolan. Jose Fabricio Ceballos. Emma Marie Lavigne. Taylor Alexis Clapp. Austin Mitchell Wallace. Milagros Soledad Britos Pechi. Roscoe Cunning Young. Brandon Tyler Lee Ventura. Joseph Porter Story. James P. Connell. Henry R. Engel. Damian Joshua Golben Murphy. Martina Cruz Mora. Justin Kadar Brooks. Dylan Robert Celentano. Kyle John Rakosny. Sierra Rose Lyons. Christine T. Fernicola. Stephen Joseph Rampola. Nicholas Masferrer Ramirez. Hope Elaine Sanders. Jessica Marie Luis. Daniel Brody Bacon. Joseph Fanuel Obonyo. Perfection Michelle Kendra Peterkin. Peter Jürgen Grata. Daniel Craig Blumenthal. Benjamin Dunlap. Jalissa Matos. Kate L. Ganji. Nicole Elizabeth Adams. Bridget Mary Murphy. Isabel Raquel Lutz. Cristiana Miltiados. Bridger Antonson. Iris Eja Ismirli. Leanne Tan Win. Bridget Grace Kolendensky. Kennedy Ann Yutz. Malia Manan. Kendall Bassett Hart. Maliha Emini. Juliana Marie DiGenova. Andrew John Gallagher. Ryan Albert Bulkley. David James Gervais. Dylan Thomas Musial. Neelish Kentheti. Tala Asan Siddiqui. Richard Dylan Coltonbach. Jason Matthew Browse. Kaylee Anna Caffel. Jeanette Patricia Duploy. Jana Kathleen Cappuccino. Michaela Genoa. Lauren Alyssa Cruz. Amber Alexandra Friquet. April Nicole Saratelli. Matthew Geensun Chang. Luis Carlos N.G. Tang. Brandon Lee Talaska. Brittany Patricia Capriati. Abigail Lynn Carney. Bridget Madison Porter. Kelly Rose McLaughlin. Kevin Wayne Lagerquist. Cole Patrick Grossman. Theodore Thomas Hoxie. Ryan Lauren Nagel. Vaughn Andrew Pega. Renata Danae Primer. Emily Ann Marshall. Michaela Ariana Sosa. Gabrielle Rose Rooks. Tess Melody Needham. Cassidy Catherine Conklin. Megan Isabel McGowan. Cecilia Denise Munoz. Alyssa Marie DeGregorio. Catherine Rose Higgins. Claire Ann Gaudette Saunders. Gigi Alexandra Abdallah. Abigail Lee Freeman. Henry Non. Eliza Rose Rustum. Caitlin Nicole Valise. Chelsea Regina Pierre. Josiah David Stankus. Sophie Rose Dommermuth. Hayden Ferris Margaret Notine. David Nestorov Rappaport. Joseph Carmine DeRiso. Jared Angelo Sciarello. Stephanie Merkelbach. Shaughnessy Noel Foster. Catherine Marie Walsh. Rebecca Jane Safi. Michael George Steves. Jinhin Liu. Du Duang. Casey Grispin. Caroline Natana Mole. Emily Virginia Bray. Isabel Camila Alcantara. Erica Renee Magenheim. Erica Marie Cowper. Caitlin Gail Lochner. Jason Thomas Klingensmith. Christina Lynn Beviano. Lila Bachelet. Isabella Rose Alderton. Madison Rose Sands. Caroline Claire Chauvanes. Benjamin M. Hartman. Sydney Robert Soki Resnick. Matthew Scott McCauley. Grace Elizabeth Lobascio. Kevin Charles Donches. Elena Gabrielle Saint Amour. Molly Claire Quigley. Justine Marie Martinez. Eric W. Dreitlein. Grace Elizabeth McCarthy. Olivia Renee Yepes. Brandon Michael Vita. Annabelle Ruth McCasland. Mary Catherine Enright. Lauren Grace Rusk. Yanto Porter. Dominic Romeo Rossi. Emily Lorraine Jones. Juliana Emmanuel Hamilton. Catherine Sheehan Flynn. Audrey Jane Borba. Margaret Cecilia Wilson. Dakota Jean Armstrong. Kevin Ariel Munoz Ramirez. Caitlin Lee Dayton. Emmanuel M. Sadlow. Shelby L. Suffren. Anastasia Caracontes. Jasmine Celine Mora. Lila Ruth Clark. Kenneth John Herwig III. Rachel Hyung Kim. Gabrielle De La Torre. Kyle Matthew Zhang. Taylor John Buenaga. Mian Gao. Gianni Angelo Villarini. Joe Min Khan. Alexandre Sandro Mamachashvili. Miriam Gelbachiani. Samuel Becker Zatorsky. Nicolo Alfonso Grillo.
Before I introduce our chairman of the board, I want to know if you want to do that again. No? Okay. Now I'd like to have Bill Landis, the chairman of our Board of Trustees and a member of the class of 1985, the Liberal Arts College, to close out our ceremony and welcome you, our newest alumni.
Thank you, President Schwartz, and I just want to extend my congratulations to the class of 2022. Really, really well done. On behalf of the Board of Trustees and all your fellow alumni, congratulations. Each of you have made an impact on Drew in your time here, and I'm sure Drew has made a significant impact on you as well. Thank you for your myriad contributions to the Drew community. You now have a stake in Drew, both in its past and in its future. Please do not take that lightly. Embrace the bonds that you have forged here. Go with courage in the greater world with confidence gained from your educational pursuits. Embrace and relish your friendships that you have made at Drew. I also urge you to stay engaged with the Drew community. I sat in your seat in 1985. The friendships formed while I was here are some of the most formative and important relationships I have today. I often say how lucky I am. I encourage you to find ways to give back to the institutions that have supported you, both with your time and with your treasure. It will be some of the most satisfying philanthropy you can practice. I hope you will stand here in 37 years like I am today, humbled and grateful for all this university did for me. Most importantly, look for the good in the world out there. Do what's right and stay connected to Drew and your roots at Drew. It is now with great pleasure that I officially welcome you as lifelong members of Drew University's College Alumni Association. You all join a talented and diverse and vibrant community of alumni, more than 20,000 strong, in all 50 states and from 80 countries all over the world. And this means that almost any place you go, there'll be a Drew alumni to greet you warmly. We'll welcome you back to this campus with every opportunity you have to come. And again, congratulations, class of 22.
We're almost done. Only 2 more 30-minute speeches, and then we'll be done. Congratulations to all of our graduates, families, and friends who have joined us here today. Would the graduates please move your tassel from the right to the left to signify completion of your degree. You are prepared to give with not just the knowledge you have learned here at Drew, but with a commitment to your community, a desire to engage in lifelong learning, and a goal of making the world a better place. As you go forward, I encourage you to follow the university motto, freely you have received, freely give. I want to thank everyone for joining us today at this commencement ceremony. I wish you all continued health and safety during this time. We ask that the guests and graduates remain at their seats until the platform party has recessed. The graduates will then proceed out of Meade Lawn by the marshals, and you can meet them over by the patio by the Shakespeare Theater where there will be light refreshments. So that's over behind us over there. I now invite you to stand for the benediction offered by the Reverend Dr. A. Craig Dunn, followed by our alma mater, performed by the Drew University Choir.
Congratulations, class of 2022. Let us pray. When you were born, the first sound you may have made was cries. But your cries gave way to sound. Your sound gave way to words. But let your words now give rise to voice. Find your voice as you depart the forest. Find your voice as you serve. Find your voice as you see injustice. Find your voice as you see pain. Find your voice in the laughter among friends. But find your voice as you live out your purpose. And as you depart, find your voice and speak for those who have no voice. May God bless you all. Amen.